This is Gloria. Gloria is a 16-year-old student who just finished her third year of high school. She's beautiful. She's well-liked by her peers. She has great friends. She even volunteers at her community school. Looking at Gloria, you can see that she looks like a pretty happy kid. She has loving parents, 2 sisters, and her grandmother, for who she is named, living next door. So, we might be able to assume that the world's a piece of cake for Gloria, right? Life is easy for her. But as we just heard, that's just not always the case. With this brief introduction, what we wouldn't know about Gloria is that she lives in the community of La Chuscada in Chinandega, Nicaragua, where running water flowed for the first time in neighborhood homes in 2014, the same year she started high school. Gloria, living in La Chuscada, didn't quite have the opportunity to access that we might think every student deserves. She commutes over an hour a day to get to the private school, Ruben Dario, where she studies. That commute costs $1 a day, round trip. Her tuition is $35 a month. We might not think that that sounds like a very big deal, right? And it wouldn't be if her family income could cover the cost. But in Nicaragua, the average family struggles to make $40 a month. So doing the math, you can see that that's just not very accessible. But Gloria makes the trek down the Pan American Highway every day with a grateful heart, knowing that she's accessing a quality education. She's already used to the commute because she went to elementary school down that same Pan American Highway at a school about 20 minutes away on the bus. And Gloria went to school there because when she was in elementary school, the school in La Chuscada was nothing more than 4 tree trunks holding up a metal roof with a few tattered desks underneath. This was their school for over 150 students living in the community of La Chuscada. There are no walls to protect the students from the storms that come 6 months a year. There's no library, no books, no computers, no electricity. But there they are, being expected to learn. And when we think about this, it can and should break our hearts. But this is her school. So, Gloria, like many other students, had to leave the community to go to school. However, Gloria did it with a grateful heart. She did it with a grateful heart, knowing that she had the opportunity to travel to access a better education. In Nicaragua, 60% of secondary age students, 60% are not enrolled in school. So if we take this room and if we divide it in half, and then take away a little more, consider which side you'd fall on. I'm going to ask you, as obnoxious as homework might be, as stressful as it is to study for exams, and as challenging as group projects are, would you give up your education? Would you say, I'm out? Probably not. But in Nicaragua, families are struggling to provide access to a quality education for their children. Most students begin dropping out around the age of 8, when they're old enough to care for their younger brothers and sisters, allowing their parents to leave the house to work. We lose another group of students around the age of 11 when they can go to work on the family farms, or they spend their time when they should be in school driving a horse-drawn cart down the Pan American to sell goods in the market. Sometimes the need to add to the family income overrides their ability to study and their ability to learn. But even if they do go to school, when the access and the quality of the education that they're receiving is so far less than they deserve, how can we expect them to stay motivated? How can we expect them to persevere? It seems impossible, unimaginable maybe, but there are students like Gloria worldwide fighting to get access to a quality education. Now, it's easy, or it is for me anyway, when we hear stories like Gloria's, to feel bad for a second, to almost feel ashamed, or to have that pinch of guilt for the ease by which our access to a quality education is received. I use myself as an example. I went to school, kindergarten through senior year, at one of the best public districts in the suburban Midwest, Parkway in St. Louis, Missouri. You can see my elementary school. It looks a little different than the one that Gloria was asked to go to. I had access to unbelievable teachers who used creative and engaging instructional strategies, cutting-edge technology, because there was this thing my senior year of high school that was brand new and it was awesome, and my teachers used it, and I got to use it one time. It was called the internet. But I had access. I had access to free transportation. I had access to extracurriculars. There were sports clubs. I was in theater. I had access to an unbelievable education. I could feel guilty. And I could say, man, what did I do to deserve that? What did I do to get to go to this school? The truth is, I didn't do anything. So please believe me when I tell you that my intention here is not to make any of us feel bad. It's not to make us feel guilty, because we can't control where we're born, and we can't control how hard our parents and guardians are fighting to gain this access to a quality education. Some of our parents are bending over backwards to make sure that we have solid, quality educational opportunities. And why do they do this? Because they know that our education unlocks the doors to our future. Our education allows us the opportunity to pursue careers of our choice, to choose jobs in which we will flourish, and to have lives in which we will thrive because of our education. And like I said, there are parents and guardians all over the world bending over backwards to provide this access for their children. In my own life, I can tell you that my great educational experiences, beginning with Parkway, we started at Claymont Elementary School, I went to Parkway West High, and afterwards I went to 2 private universities, and I completed my master's in counseling at an exceptional nationally accredited program in St. Louis. So like I said, I'll be the first to admit it came easy to me, but not without my parents. And parents all over the world are fighting to give their kids access to education. And how many times did I say thank you to my parents for this? Probably never. So Mom and Dad, thank you for the gift of learning. I repeat, I don't say any of this to make us feel guilty, because I'll be the first one to admit that I've taken advantage and taken for granted the access to which my education came to me. But everything changed for me about 7 years ago. In 2011, I went to Nicaragua for the first time with a non-for-profit organization called Amigos for Christ. We were working on a clean water system in a community called El Chunco. And my first experience in Nicaragua completely changed my life. But as an educator, the thing that struck me most is the conditions of the school, where the kids were being expected to learn. I couldn't help but to be struck by the lack of access these kids had to a quality education, and the lack of resources that the teachers had to do their craft, to teach, to deliver curriculum. There was no access, and it broke my heart. But I loved the work of Amigos. At Amigos for Christ, we work alongside our Nicaraguan neighbors to ensure that we help to improve the quality of life for the rural poor in Nicaragua. Amigos focuses first on clean water, then we work on on health and sanitation issues. We work to improve the capital income of a family, so to increase their economic stability. And we also focus, you guessed it, on education. And in 2013, when we first saw that school in La Chuscata, seeing that school broke my heart. It made me realize how lucky I was to have had the education that I did. It made me realize how hard my parents had worked for me It made me realize how amazing my teachers were, and it made me realize that I needed to give back. If I was going to look at everything to which I had access, the only response would be to give back. I was delighted to hear in that same summer of 2013 that Amigos for Christ had a plan. Alongside of the community of La Chuscata, Amigos had plans to build an elementary school where the students could learn in a safe and creative environment. In 2015, we opened the temporary building where Gloria's sisters were and still are enrolled. And in 2016, I just knew that it was time and that I had to be a part of it. So I left my job as a middle school guidance counselor, a job that I loved very much, to go and work full-time at Amigos for Christ. And then in 2017, I got to be there when the doors of the first phase of the new elementary school in Chuscata were open. To see the faces on the kids as they rushed into this building, finally having a place, a safe, protective, encouraging environment to learn. I wanted to be a part of that. So when I moved down in 2016, I started working on the education team and later served as the responsable for school and scholarship development. It's in my work with the scholarship program that I got to know Gloria. Gloria, when it came time to go to high school, she knew she wanted more for her education. She knew she wanted a better future. So Gloria applied for a scholarship with the Amigos for Christ scholarship program, and she was quickly accepted because of her great academic and conduct transcripts. But the thing that I love the most about Gloria is that she doesn't just cling to her own learning opportunities and selfishly soak up the gift of her scholarship. Gloria responds with an attitude of gratitude. Gloria gives back to her community. In 2017, when we were ready to open this school, we went on foot, house to house, throughout the community of La Chuscata in 95-degree heat to register students so that they could attend this school. And Gloria was the first one to lead that charge. She wanted to provide that same access to education, even though she didn't receive it herself. When she's not studying, she spends her time helping in the after-school activity program offered by Amigos for Christ, again, to enhance the education for the students of the community. In the Spanish language, there's a great word. It might be the most important word, but my favorite word in the Spanish language is aprovechar. To aprovechar means to take advantage. That can be a negative thing if we're talking about taking advantage of a person or using someone for our own benefit, but it can also be a beautiful thing if we learn to take advantage of the opportunities that we've been blessed with in our lives. And once we take advantage of everything that we have access to, how can we not feel grateful? How can we not have an attitude of gratitude? So with Gloria, I've learned that though we can't control the access to which we have in education, we can't control the access to other top opportunities that we have in our life, we can control our response. And she inspires me to aprovechar, to take advantage of those opportunities. And especially, like she does, to do so with a grateful and a loving heart. At this point, you might be thinking that I'm suggesting that everyone should stop what they're doing and move to Nicaragua or some other spot on the map that inspires you. But I promise that's not what I'm saying, and I'm 100% certain that I'd have a bunch of angry parents if I were to offer that kind of advice. Rather, what I'm suggesting is that we all have the power to do something truly amazing from exactly where we are right now, whether we're here in Georgia or where I'm from in St. Louis or in Nicaragua. Young people all over the world are taking advantage of the opportunities that life is giving them, and with grateful hearts, they're giving back. What would it look like if we all, number one, acknowledge the access that we have to our education and other opportunities that we have? And if we chose to aprovechar, to take full advantage, and then another great Spanish word, to agradecer. To agradecer, for you Spanish students out there, means to give thanks. What would it look like if we all gave thanks in response to our own access to education? In my life as a middle school guidance counselor, I came across hundreds of students who knew exactly what this meant, and I know that you in this room do the same. Meet Kendall. Kendall, like Gloria, looks like a pretty typical US American student. She's intelligent, she's pretty, she's well liked by her peers, she's athletic, she's involved. The world must be her oyster, right? The world must be at her feet. And knowing Kendall personally, I can tell you that the sky's the limit for this one. But I want to tell you about Kendall because, again, like we've already heard this afternoon, things aren't always as they seem. I met Kendall for the first time when she was 6 years old at her father's funeral. At the time, I was her brother's counselor, and several years later, I had the opportunity to be Kendall's counselor. As you can imagine, life wasn't always easy for her. Losing a parent at such a young age could be something that could stunt a person for life, and rightfully so. But not Kendall. You see, Kendall has an unbelievable family, and she has a great support system, and Kendall has chosen to take advantage of the opportunities that are provided to her. And she still, though she's navigated unimaginable grief, she does so with a thankful heart. And my favorite thing about Kendall is that her response, just like Gloria's, is that attitude of gratitude. She chooses to give back because she wants others to have access to the same resources. In her 7th grade year, Kendall came to me and asked if we could put together a grief support group for other young people dealing with the loss of a parent or loved one. 6 other young girls in our class that year, 6 others stepped forward to access that opportunity to heal. 7 students in 1 grade level. But together, they navigated the difficult waters of grief and looked to each other for support. I know connections were made in that group that will last for years to come. And why did that happen? That happened because Kendall took advantage of the access she had to an opportunity provided through her school. It helped her heal, so she reached out to give back and to give others the opportunity to heal as well. But it doesn't stop there for this kiddo. In her 8th grade year, she threw a birthday party with a friend named Grace. Together they had a joint birthday party. But this was not your average 8th grade birthday girl bash. The girls decided that instead of gifts, they would ask all of their friends and all of their guests to bring money to donate to Amigos for Christ and the work that we were doing in the scholarship program. At that party, the girls raised almost enough to fund a full year's scholarship for a student just like Gloria. And we can see that our worlds connect. And that attitude of gratitude, that desire to give back, these girls inspire me. In both Kendall and in Gloria, we have unbelievable examples of what it means to take advantage of the opportunities that we're blessed with in life. What happens when we choose to Aprovechar and to make the most of every opportunity? And when we do so, especially with a grateful and loving heart, and when we choose to Agradecer, we can change the world. I know because many of you are doing the same thing, and I know because they changed my world. So my hope for us today is that these 2 young ladies can inspire us. They can inspire us to see what we have in front of us, acknowledge the access that we have, take advantage, soak up every opportunity that we have, and then from an attitude of gratitude, give back. If you're not sure how to give back, there is a million things out there that you can get involved in. If you're not sure how to give back, find a club or an organization that inspires you. Find a cause that moves you. Find a friend that needs you, and choose to give back. I hope that we will all always have the courage to access, to Aprovechar, and to Agradecer. Thank you very much.